This 12th century story of the Green Children of Woolpit, a small village in Suffolk, England, is a bizarre medieval folktale remembered for generations, because it's not often that we hear of children appearing almost out of nowhere on the edge of a field with green skin and no knowledge of the local language. Even today, historians debate whether there is any truth to the story and whether it is not just a legend, while others go so far as to claim that it was actually an encounter with extraterrestrials. I'll get right into it, but first I ask you, if you liked the video, to support my channel by subscribing at the end, or even now. Thanks. Woolpit, a hamlet in eastern England, now home to around 2,000 inhabitants, was in medieval times the most agriculturally fertile and densely populated area of rural England, and belonged to the wealthy and powerful Abbey of Bury St. Edmunds. Its original name in Old English comes from Wolf Pit, the pits dug around the town to catch wolves. Legend has it that it was near one of these pits, and according to other sources, it was in one of these pits that a boy and his sister were discovered by people working in the fields. Surprisingly, they had greenish skin, their clothes were made of a material unknown to the villagers, and they spoke a foreign language that was completely incomprehensible to the harvesters. The children were taken to the village, where eventually the local landowner, Sir Richard de Cane, took them into his home. The children refused to eat any of the food that was placed in front of them, despite the fact that they were apparently starving. Finally, the villagers brought them recently harvested green beans, which the children ate. For months they lived only on beans, until they slowly grew to love bread. As no one knew anything about the newcomers, the villagers had no way of knowing if they had been baptized at all, so soon de Cane had them baptized. Later, the boy fell ill and soon died, but the girl continued to enjoy good health, and in time even gradually lost her greenish skin. Over the next few years, she slowly learned to speak English, and later married a distinguished judge named Richard Barr in neighboring King's Lynn in Norfolk County. According to some accounts, she took the name Agnes Barr, and the man she married was Henry II's envoy, although these details have never been confirmed. Since she was fluent in the language after a while, she was finally able to tell their story. She told how she and her brother had come from a strange underground world, which she called the Land of St. Martin. As there was no sun, the world was in perpetual darkness. The skin of its inhabitants was green like theirs. She also described another, as she put it, luminous land, visible across a river. The girl told how she and her brother were guarding their father's flock when they came across a cave opening. Their curiosity outweighed their caution, so they entered the cave and then went deeper and deeper. Eventually, they wandered in the darkness until they were lost and unable to find their way back to the abandoned flock. After a while, they heard the sound of bells, so as their only clue, they began to follow the direction of the sounds. At last, their eyes, accustomed to the perpetual semi-darkness, caught a glimpse of a glow in the darkness. This was the opening from the cave, and they were greeted by a brilliant sunlight, which was utterly unfamiliar and startling to them. It was not long before they were discovered in the field by the harvesters. The records of the medieval chronicles. Although the story could be thought of as a fable, it is recorded in two major contemporary chronicles. One account is by the English chronicler Ralph of Coggeshall, who died around 1227 and was the abbot of a monastery of the long-established Roman Catholic monastic order, the Cistercians, at Coggeshall, approximately 26 miles south of Woolpit. He recorded his account of the Green Children of Woolpit in the Chronicon Anglicanum, the English chronicle, citing Sir Richard de Cane as the source, who took the children in. Meanwhile, the English historian William of Newburgh, canon of the Augustinian monastery of Newburgh in Yorkshire, far to the north, also reported the story of the Green Children in his major work, Historia Rerum Anglicarum, in English, History of English Affairs. Both writers claimed that the events took place during the reign of Stephen of Blois, i.e. King Stephen of England or King Henry II, depending on which version of the story you read. This period falls between 1135 and 1189, a period of 54 years. Other interpretations. Over the centuries, many theories have been put forward to explain the strange history of the green children of Woolpit. At the time, most people believed that the green children could only be fairies or elves who had accidentally crossed over from fairyland into the human world. In the Middle Ages, I think this must have been a very accepted explanation. Another theory is that the green color of the children's skin was due to hypochromic anemia, called chlorosis or green disease at the time, not to be confused with the botanical term for the same condition. The word chlorosis is derived from the Greek word chloris, meaning greenish yellow. This disease is caused by vitamin deficiencies and/or poor nutrition, which can cause the skin to turn pale or even greenish. This theory may be supported by the fact that after a healthier diet, the girl's skin color returned to normal over time. Another explanation is that the greenish discoloration of their skin could have been caused by arsenic poisoning, which at the time could easily be mistaken for other diseases, so some believe their parents deliberately left them behind to avoid infecting others. This seems to be contradicted by the fact that they showed no other symptoms of arsenic poisoning. As for the girl's account of a foreign land, Paul Harris suggested in Fortune Studies No. 4 of 1998 that he believed the children were Flemish orphans who may have come to Woolpit from a nearby place, Fornham St. Martin. In the 12th century, many Flemish immigrants arrived and were persecuted during the reign of King Henry II, and many were killed near Bury St. Edmunds in 1173. According to Harris, if the green children of Woolpit were in fact fleeing Flemish immigrants and had fled to Thetford Forest, it could easily have looked to the frightened children as if it was indeed perpetual darkness. He says it is also possible that they were hiding in one of the many underground mine shafts in the area, which eventually led them to Woolpit, and the children, dressed in strange Flemish clothes and speaking a different language, were a strange sight for the already surprised villagers. The problem with Harris's theory, however, is that it virtually ignores the details the girl told in her story, such as the underground nature of their home, the novelty of sunlight to them, or even the fact that they initially refused to eat anything but beans and even bread was unfamiliar to them. She also did not mention a boat trip, which would have been necessary to get the immigrants to England in the first place, as the Flemish were living in the land of today's Belgium. But such a long journey across the North Sea over many days would certainly have been an experience for the siblings. However, in recent centuries and decades, other explanations have emerged that are not accepted by science. Robert Burton, an English writer and fellow at Oxford University, in his 1621 book The Anatomy of Melancholy, claimed that the green children of Woolpit had, as he put it, fallen from heaven, which many in modern times interpret as coming from the sky, that is, that the children were extraterrestrials. In an article published in Analog magazine in 1996, Scottish author Duncan Lunan, a researcher known for his scientific writing, suggested that the children had been brought to Earth by accident from their home planet, where only a thin twilight zone provided the conditions for life in a place where it was neither too hot nor too cold. He says that this planet, like our moon, always has the same side to its sun, hence the constant semi-dark the girl spoke of. These claims were echoed in his 2012 book, Children from the Sky. If you're interested in the book's description in more detail, you can find a link to it in the description below the video. Since its first record, the story of the green children of Woolpit have been lasted more than 800 years. Although the true facts of the story may never be known, it has inspired many poems, novels, operas, and plays around the world. And the village commemorates the story with a plaque on the outskirts of the town, erected in 1977, which features the wolf and the local church, as well as the figure of the two wandering children, one of the village's most recognizable symbols. I hope you liked this old legend. If you did, be sure to like the video and write down what you think about it in the comments. Subscribe to my channel and don't forget to check back for my previous videos, as I'm sure you'll find more interesting topics among them. Thank you very much for your attention. See you in next video.